Joining me now to talk a little UMass Athletics is our very own Jesse Mayfield-Sheehan. Jesse, thanks for joining us. Now, that package was great. Only problem with it, UMass took the loss. Now, unfortunately, you seem like maybe some bad luck charm or something, because they went 3 for 4 over the weekend, but you were at the loss and got the package for us.
I know. I have absolutely no idea what happened.
Maybe we should just get some news reports and we'll talk about it later. Maybe keep the video reports to a minimum. No, but it's good to see him take 3 out of 4. Yeah. It's good some good wins from the team. What are your takeaways from this weekend overall?
Well, a few things I take away from this weekend, Casey. The first thing, the hitting from this team is definitely legit. I mean, the hitting's been going crazy ever since they started conference play a couple weeks ago. But they were going crazy against teams like Dayton and Boston College and St. Bonaventure, teams that didn't really have the greatest pitching staffs. They go up against a team like Fordham, really strong conference opponent and great pitching staff. They came into that series with a 3.06 team ERA, and they whopped them offensively. They scored 9 runs in the first game against them. They scored 11 runs in that tough loss that you just had to watch in that highlight reel. So, without a doubt, this offense is a legit threat throughout the A-10. Doesn't matter how good your pitching staff is, the UMass Minutewomen will find a way to score. And another thing that you take away from this, which was another bright spot, the pitching actually showed up in the LaSalle doubleheader that followed the Fordham games. In those 2 games, pitcher Caroline Raymond, she pitched both. She actually pitched the entire weekend, which was impressive showing from her. And she didn't give up a single run throughout that doubleheader, gave up a total of 3 hits, I think, which was a very impressive showing. Not the best team to be doing that against in LaSalle, but still, considering how much the pitching has struggled this season, really, really positive note to see from the pitching there. And we even saw some bright spots from the fielding, which has struggled. 2 games, they had no errors. One of the doubleheader games and the first game against Fordham. Unfortunately, in the other 2 games, they gave up 3 errors in one and a whopping 5 in the other. So a little bit of inconsistency in the fielding, but showing some signs of improvement in some areas they've been struggling, which is always good to see.
Yeah, as we've been discussing so far over this season, it's really been their pitching that's needed to be the focus, and losing Sarah Plord and really just not getting the performance that they needed. So seeing some of these positives over the weekend in pitching and even in the fielding, as you said, what do you see from this team going forward?
Well, I think what they really need to do going forward, keep hitting the way they've been hitting, obviously. And I think with the pitching, one thing that Coach Sortino has really been emphasizing is the need to not walk so many hitters. I mean, in those first 2 games, the team walked a total of 16 hitters against Fordham. And in that first game against LaSalle, I think there was only 1 walk from Caroline Raymond, which was a good showing. Unfortunately, she still walked 4 in the second game. But still an impressive showing in that second game. So that is one thing that they can't do. I mean, it doesn't matter how many times the offense hits the ball to drive in runs if, the opponents already have 2 free runners on base and all they need is 1 hit to score a couple runs. They're automatically at a disadvantage on the defensive side. So that's something the pitching needs to work on. And obviously the fielding has got to improve their consistency. You can't just go out and commit 0 errors in one game and then commit 5 in the other. You got to be able to commit, 1 or 0 errors in both games, if you're going to be able to back up your fielding, back up your pitching rather.
Yeah, it's good performances overall to see from in the weekend from the softball team, and hopefully those bright spots will continue to shine as the season goes on. Now, moving on to the lacrosse field, women's lacrosse with 2 one-goal wins over the weekend. Not your usual wins on the lacrosse field that you would see. What did you take away from this game, Jesse?
Well, a couple things I took away from this, Casey. First, a slight concern as, this seems to be perhaps the only weakness for the women's lacrosse team is their second half play. Now, in both these games, they had pretty substantial leads going into the half. They had an 8-3 lead going into the first one and a 7-3 lead in the second one, and yet they still ended up only winning by 1 goal. And what happened was they came out in the second half, and the other team and their opponents started to fight back. So, without a doubt, certainly something that needs to be worked on. Not just come out. They certainly come out strong in the beginning. They come out very fast, scoring a lot of goals, but they got to be able to sustain that. But one thing I saw, which was a positive, was their ability to hang tough in these tough one-goal games. They've had 4 so far this season, and they've won 3 of them. So that's certainly a good thing to see, because, one thing you'd expect from a team that wins a lot of games by scoring 20 goals on their opponents is that perhaps when they're faced with a tough situation where the opponent's actually coming back on them, actually giving them a real fight, is they might, fold and might give up an unexpected loss. But this team didn't do that. This team, has held their composure together, held it together, and, come away with these 1-goal wins. So I think that's something that's really positive from them. If they can hold their composure in the tough games and they can come out with the blowout wins as well, then they're a very tough team to beat. There's a reason they're ranked number 13 in the country right now. They're a very good-looking team right now.
So in being so tough and with so much successes, how much success do you think they can have continuing with the season? Excuse me.
Oh, I think absolutely. In terms of the conference, I don't know if there's anyone who can stop them right now. We've been watching them throughout the season just blow away every opponent, almost all the opponents in their way. And then you got this weekend where it's like, even if you get close, they can still pull it out on you, even if it takes 2 overtimes to do it, as they did in the first game. So I think in terms of A10 competition, I think they'll go straight to another championship. And I think they could even go some distance in the NCAAs. So I think really with this team, the way they've been playing, sky's the limit.
Well, that's some positive news, from the Minute Woman over on the lacrosse field. Hopefully that can continue. Hopefully those predictions can come true. More somber side, the men's lacrosse team. Now, not the success we're used to or even expect here at UMass from the lacrosse team. Another loss, this one to Towson, 9-5. Not a team you expect them to lose to. A strong competitor, but still a team they should beat. That puts them to 0-3 in the conference. So, Jesse, what's going on with the team this year?
Well, Casey, it's really on the offensive side. Like you said, Towson, a tough competitor. They're really one of the better defensive teams in the Colonial Athletic Association, and against a team, like the Minutemen, who have been really having a tough offensive season thus far. It's not the kind of team you want to go up against, and it really showed in the scoreboard, only scoring 5 goals in that game. And, throughout the season, it's just been sort of up and down the offense. Last year their offense was really good and consistent. There were only 3 games in which they scored single digits throughout the season last year. And then this year, on the flip side, there's only been 3 games so far. Granted, they haven't played a full season, but there's only been 3 games in which they actually scored double digits. So clearly there's been, a significant drop-off on the offensive production. One part of that, obviously, is the injuries they've suffered to key players like Will Manny and Colin Fleming. But even as they come back, Colin Fleming has only scored 1 goal since returning. So clearly a tough recovery period for those two. So, yes, there's been a slight drop-off on the defensive side as well. They're not quite the amazing defense they had last year. But Zach Oliveri has had a very solid season. He's looked very good at some points, and considering he's only a freshman, I think he, could have a very good career here at UMass in the net. But really, it's the offensive side that's taken the significant drop-off this season, and it's what's really cost them so far this season.
Yeah, not the offensive output that you definitely want to see, and it has been the problem with their team and what has brought them down to actually being dead last in the conference now. That's no place you expect UMass Lacrosse to be. It's different when they lose a national ranking, but dead last in the conference is just unheard of for them. Is there any hope left for this team, Jesse?
Well, it's the world of sports. There's always hope until you get flat out eliminated from the playoffs, but the way things are going, it really doesn't look good. They'd have to win every single game remaining in the season, and they're taking on 2 of the best teams in the conference in Drexel and Hofstra over the next 2 games. And honestly, the way they've been playing, I objectively do not think those are games they can win. Their last game is against Delaware, which is, a weaker team that they should be able to defeat, but Drexel and Hofstra just seem like 2 hurdles they can't get over with the current state of the team. And it looks like they may even miss the conference playoffs this year.
Well, that's unfortunate to hear, because that's not what you expect from the lacrosse team. But like you said, bright spots in net. Maybe you can look something towards the future, looking towards next year. Even though it's what you hate to do when the season is still going on. But like you said, it's a tough schedule to finish out. Well, we'll look towards next year with that, and we'll keep watching though. Like you said, it's sports. It still can happen. So we'll see how it finishes out. Jesse, thanks for joining me. And thanks for joining us at home, and stay tuned next week. We'll be back same time, same place.